Hey everybody. Hope everyone's having a great day. Hope everybody can hear me. If there's any problems with the audio or video, just drop me a quick chat and I'll fix it. Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. I think maybe a few people are going to trickle in as we go here, but I got some housekeeping things to get out of the way first and foremost. So I'll just get through that boring stuff first. First and foremost, I appreciate everybody joining today. As anybody knows who's come to these webinars I did before, my goal is usually to keep these pretty quick, but this is a big topic. So a little bit more to it today than usual, but I'll still try to keep it as quick as I can without skipping any important details. One thing worth mentioning right off the bat, I know some people subscribe to my newsletter. Some people may not. I send this kind of content 3 times a week. So if you're interested, you're welcome to subscribe. If you're not already, signing up for this webinar does not automatically subscribe you to that, but there's a link at the end in case you want. Another thing I also mentioned is I know a lot of webinars, people usually say, please keep your mics muted and we'll ask questions at the end. I actually prefer the opposite. If you have questions along the way, please feel free to jump in and ask, because it kind of helps me from feeling like I'm talking to the walls in this room. So if you got questions as we go, please feel free to jump in and let me know. And I'll answer them on the fly. Otherwise, we will have time at the end for more questions. I think that's all I had to cover. Presumably it's not that important if I forgot it. So with that being said, we'll dive right into it here. So quick overview on what we'll cover today. I'll give you a little bit of info about me for anybody who's been on my webinars before. I'm sorry that you got to hear this again, but I'll keep it quick. I just want to let everybody know who they're listening to if they haven't heard me before. Next thing I'll cover is why a well-written website is so vital. And this is kind of a passion point for me. I'm sure that you'll probably pick up on that as we go through. And then I've kind of broken this down. As I said, it's a big topic, so I've broken this down into 3 components. The first is kind of a high-level strategy approach that I take when it comes to writing co-working websites. The second is 5 tips for writing the copy that'll kind of engage your visitors rather than deterring them, and that'll make more sense as I get into it a little bit more. I also have some tips for how to actually write the content. So it'll be strategy, it'll be how to pick what you include, and then it'll be how to actually write that in an engaging way. And then I've got some samples of great co-working spaces to go through. And also, you may remember that I had mentioned that anybody who wants a quick review of their homepage can submit it. So we've got one of those that we'll get into at the end as well. So without further ado, quick little bit about me. My name's Taylor. I'm the principal here at Tailmaker. Essentially what I do in a nutshell is I help co-working spaces and operators to attract new members or landlords or commercial real estate brokers using strategically crafted web copy, blog articles, newsletters, internal content, and the whole ecosystem for how that fits together. My background was actually in PR for a long time. I was in the PR world because I love storytelling. I love the whole organic element of it. And then over time, I started to see that industry was shifting a little bit more towards advertising and paid. And it kind of took that organic connection, that storytelling element that I love so much out of it. So I decided to make a pivot towards content marketing, which to me felt like the new era of PR in a way, kind of a way to keep that storytelling element, to build relationships, to keep it organic, and keep it a conversation rather than just being salesy. When I went out on my own, I ended up at a co-working space because I spent 4 months in my sweats at home with the dog, and as much as I thought I would love it, I didn't. And I kind of immediately fell in love with the concept of co-working. I loved what it did for people like me. And I kind of decided I was going to make it my mission with my business to help connect co-working operators with the people like myself who can benefit from the services and vice versa. So that's how I fell into co-working. And it's been awesome since then, getting to meet all these great people and finally back in the co-working space here in Vancouver. So that's the long and the short of it. And it's enough about me. So why is a well-written website so vital? I know people talk a lot about web design and like how your website looks, and that is a really, really crucial component. But the copy that you include on your website is what's going to tell people what your space is all about. It's going to help you stand out from the competition. It's going to create your unique identity, and that's critical. But on a more granular level, the copy is important because when people come to your website, they spend an average of under 6 seconds looking at your written content. So you need to grab them early. And if you don't, then they're probably going to lose interest. And that is a really short window. It all comes down to basically a header, a paragraph, and that's about all you get to capture them. And beyond that, 88% of people who come to your website and have a bad experience are unlikely to return. So it's kind of like you get one shot at this. I see a submission here, Kim. I'll get to that at the end too. Thank you for that. But yeah, so if people have a bad experience with your website, there's a good chance that they won't come back. So you want to make sure that you're getting it right off the bat. Your website is essentially your co-working space's virtual handshake. In a lot of situations, it's going to be the first interaction that potential members have with you. So you want to make sure that it's good. I've also gone through, I spent a lot of time looking at co-working websites from across North America. I've got a big comprehensive list of well over 100. And what I realized, and the reason why I did this webinar in particular, is because I saw that probably half of the co-working spaces that I saw were doing this all right, and a handful were doing this really, really well. But I think it's important, so I wanted to make sure that I covered this for anybody who was interested. So the next thing we got here, I've tried to kind of break down the way that I look at writing websites. So to preface, I love writing websites. I like it because it's strategic, it's hard, but more importantly, it gives me an opportunity to really get ingrained with my clients, because it's a really in-depth process of discovery and picking out the key points and finding out how to articulate things. And it also helps my clients to look at their spaces and their members sometimes in a new way that they might not have thought of before. So I find it's a really collaborative and fun process. That being said, as I said, it's really, really hard. And I've tried to think of ways to put this into a metaphor form before. And the best thing that I could think of was that writing a great website is kind of like making your own puzzle. You kind of have to take the picture, cut out the pieces, and then put it all together. So it might sound a little obscure right now. If so, bear with me. It'll make more sense as we go along. But that's how I'll kind of explain the strategy component of the website, of writing a website. So how to write a co-working website that actually sells. As I said, I'll go into the strategy, I'll go into how to pick the right stuff to include, and then the granular details of how to actually write it properly. And I know this is a lot to cover, so if you have questions afterwards, my email is at the end. You can feel free to send me a note, and I'd be happy to chat with you in a little bit more depth. As I said, so where this came from is I've been written a lot of co-working websites over the past couple of years, and I've analyzed this a lot more. So this all comes from the process of refining and honing my approach to doing this over time, and to create a tried and true methodology, if you will, that seems to be a good fit for co-working spaces. So the three-step strategy for writing a sales-driving website. As I said, I break this down into three pieces. First is the big picture, second is the pieces themselves, and third is assembly, putting it all together. So when you look at the big picture, this is kind of a high-level approach to your website. It's looking at what pages are you going to include? What's the structure going to be? How will each page be laid out on your website? What do you want your visitors to get from the experience of showing up there? Like what do you want them to walk away feeling? What actions do you want them to take? If you're working with a web designer, they'll probably help you with this by creating a wireframe. But if you're just doing it on your own, there are some standard formatting things that you can follow, and I'll get into a little bit more of that later. As a generality, the basic co-working website structure that I work within is to have a home page, an About Us page, or an Our Story page. And these are important factors for reasons I'll get into later. Individual pages for each service. Sometimes a trial page or like a specials page. I see a lot of operators who want to have a dedicated page, landing page for an offer that they have, a discounted rate for 3 months or whatever it might be. A blog page, which is usually just a micro copy. And when I say micro copy, I just mean a quick introduction sentence, nothing in depth. Possibly events if you host events in your space, and a contact us page. But again, it depends on what you offer. I'm approaching this from the perspective of a co-working space, just looking to attract members. But if you're looking to partner up with landlords or connect with commercial real estate brokers, then you're going to have more to your website than that. But this is the fundamentals here. So as I said, the second piece here is the pieces. So once you have a big picture idea of what you want your members to experience when they come to your website, it's time to kind of cut out the individual pieces that'll collectively create that picture. And as I said, this is the part that I love because it has an in-depth discovery component, or for you, if you're doing this on your own, kind of a rediscovery process to help you extrapolate all the details about both your ideal member and about your space itself. It kind of just gives you an opportunity to refocus on yourself and get a better understanding of yourself and your space and your members. So there's some key questions to ask yourself that'll help you get all of the information that you need from both yourself and your members to put together that big picture. So start by looking internally at your space. And the hard thing here is being objective. So I would recommend just writing all these notes down, brain dumping it somewhere, and then reviewing it all later. I think when you write a website, you're going to find yourself with a huge volume of information that you have to distill down. But look at your space. What are its unique features? What's its tone of voice? What's your personality? I always say that when when many co-working spaces offer very similar services and features, the thing that makes you stand out to prospective members is your personality, your tone of voice, your brand, the environment that you have. So really get tuned into what that is for your space. What experience will your members have working there? So what are they going to feel when they come in there, right? What are they going to think? How are they going to feel if they bring clients or customers in for a meeting? What are your space's core values? As I said a bunch in emails and webinars, and if you've read Simon Sinek's book, which is brilliant, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So if they align with your core values, that's going to go a long way in bringing them in the door. What's your pricing structure? What are your amenities? What's unique about your space compared to the competition? Again, this often comes down to what the environment of your space is, what the vibe is in your spaces, because sometimes the services are fairly similar. And what do you want members to think or feel when they get to your website? Generally, this is a reflection of your brand and your tone of voice and your points of differentiation. And beyond that, you also have to look externally at your members. And I find that this is where there's a bit of a discovery with my clients, where they look at their members in a different light than they might have. The basic stuff is understanding who your member is, what industries are they in, what's their professional situation? Are they a solopreneur? Are they part of a satellite team? Do they own a growing business? What's their role within whatever organization they're in? What are their personal interests? What are the professional challenges? And then how will your space tap into that identity? I always use the example, if you're hosting or if you're running a co-working space and it's intended for creative professionals, the way that you write your content is going to be vastly different than it would be if you were trying to appeal to corporate satellite teams or law firms. So understanding exactly who they are and how you're going to speak to them helps you dial into the audience that you're going for. And this is also an important one. What do people ask you during your tours? What are the needs or wants that they express to you when they come in? What are the concerns? What are the challenges? What are the objections? What are they worried about with co-working? Oftentimes they're worried that it's a new concept and maybe it's not for them. So I would actually go through your tours with a notebook, write down what people say, because you can address those things directly on your website. Another thing is, how would your ideal member describe your co-working space, your service, and your community to a friend? So you can ask for testimonials, you can look at Google reviews, or you can use the insights you have about who your ideal members are to extrapolate what you would want them to say about your space. Also, what's the main value that they get from working at your space? This is something that comes from really talking to your members or reading Google reviews and picking up that verbiage of what they say, because sometimes what you think is what they value isn't entirely what they value. Sometimes they love things about your space that you might not even be thinking about as a selling point. So you can get that information from them and put it out there on your website so that it's, you're sharing it with them right away. How does your space solve a specific challenge that they have? So what are the challenges they have and how do you solve it? More importantly, how are they currently trying to solve that problem? Are they working from home? Are they whatever it might be? And then what other alternative options might they be exploring? So when they're looking at a co-working space, what else might they be looking into as an alternative solution to their problems? Each of these questions and the answers that they provide you will give you individual pieces of your web copy puzzle. So last is the assembly process. And this is where it gets really tricky, because as I said, like once you've gone through all this information and gathered all this insight and all this information, you're going to find yourself with 500 pieces, but you're only going to need 50 of them. So this comes with this comes with a need to be objective, distill things down to the most concise and fine and potent and important points, which isn't always easy. So this is a real exercise in kind of connecting what you're putting into your website with what your members want and not just what you think they want. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of time. If you find you're taking 2 weeks to do this, you're not alone. It's a lot to go through, and it's a difficult process. So with that being said, I put together 7 considerations for how to pick the right pieces. It's daunting, it's overwhelming, but if you approach it strategically, it makes it a lot easier to sift through the volume and pick out those most important pieces. So the first one here is to educate first. A lot of the time with websites, there's an urge to sell right away, especially when people know that you have 5 seconds to capture people. There's an urge to sell, but that's not the right move, because 92% of people visit your website for the first time to do something other than making a purchase or signing up for a membership. Specifically, 45% of them are just searching for a product or a service. 26% are comparing prices or other variables between you and your competitors, which makes the case for having your prices listed clearly on your website. And 11% are just looking for details like your hours, location, and contact information. But when you look at these facts, it tells you that people are coming to your site to learn first. So you need to focus on educating them about how you solve their challenges, what benefits you offer them, and what experience you're going to give them before you try to give them a hard sell on your space. Next, as I said, is a 5-second test. So when someone comes to your website, you have 5 seconds to grab their attention. So they should be able to understand exactly what you offer, who it's for, and how it'll benefit them in the span of 5 seconds. And this is really hard. A lot of the time when I'm writing a website, like 15 or 20% of the entire project time is allocated to coming up with a tagline and a 1-paragraph description that clearly and concisely articulates all of those factors: who it's for, what it is, and how it's going to benefit them. So if it takes you multiple iterations to get this right, that's completely normal. It takes me 5, 7, 10 different times to get this right. And usually I'll include between 10 and 15 different options for taglines. So this is really, really important. Take your time with it and make sure that it's really targeted at who they are and what you're going to give them. Next thing is to be you focused. And when I say you focused, I don't mean you as the operator. I mean, you should actually write your website copy with the word you in it. It's direct rather than being ambiguous. It tells your reader it was written specifically for them. Think about if you read a website and it says, you know, for a lot of small business owners, they find this and that. When you're reading that, you're like, I don't know who they are. But if it's directed at me, then you know, if it's you focused, you know that it's written directly for you. So this is a really finite point, but make sure that everything that you're doing is you focused being towards your member. The next thing is to be specific. You don't have a whole lot of time here to get people's attention. So you need to be very specific, as I said, in what you offer, for whom, and how they're going to benefit. Spell it out in no uncertain terms, and this will help people decide really quickly if your space is for them. The way I like to look at this is that there's a difference between the commodities that you sell and the products that your members buy. So think about your workspace itself and the services that you offer as the commodities you sell. And on the other hand, the products that your members buy are how that commodity makes them feel and what they're going to get out of it. So when you're being specific, it's more important to be specific about the products that you're selling, which is the experience, how you're going to solve their problems, how you're going to make them feel, rather than just the commodities themselves, the workspace and the service. Next is to be benefits oriented. I know I've said this a bunch of times before, but you need to spell out the benefits that that your members are going to get from working at your space. And this all comes back to understanding who they are, what their challenges are, what their objections are, what their concerns are, how you can be a solution to their challenges. So your web copy should all be rooted in understanding of the challenges that they face, and then write it to articulate how you're going to help them solve it. My rule of thumb is never talk about what you offer without drawing the connection between how it's going to make life better and easier, or make work more successful for your members. Next is tell your story. Tell your story. This is important because, as I said, was Simon Sinek's book. People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. So, if you're just going too matter of fact, doesn't grab people and make a personal connection in the way that it does if you share your story and tell them why you do what you do and who you are. So weaving some emotion into your web copy will help create a personal connection with them that'll draw them in more so than just the facts will. And number 7, always include calls to action on your website. This comes back to knowing the experience that you want your visitors to have and understanding what action that you want them to take. It needs to be there. If not, all of your hard work on the website is for naught because people won't know what you want them to do. So generally this could be booking a tour or contacting you. You can have both in case people are ready to get in touch, or a day pass if they want to come in and check it out. But for the people who are just stopping by and visiting, it's really smart to have a link to subscribe to your blog or your newsletter so that you can continue building relationships with them over time, and so that you're top of mind when they finally do decide that they're ready to get a co-working space. Ooh, gone too far. So as I said, that's kind of the how to pick what to write about. And this next section, I'll give you a few tips for how to actually write it. So not just what to put on there, but how to actually write it and articulate it. The first one, right. So as I said, up until now, I've talked a lot about what you should write, but this is more about how you should write it. And it's something that you definitely don't overlook this because it's equally important. A poorly written website can be just as prohibitive as copy that doesn't hit the right point. So how you write is just as important as what you write. First thing is make it scalable. For anybody who's been on my webinars or read my emails before, I talked about this a lot with blog articles, but it also applies to your website. Avoid clunky paragraphs. Headers are your friend. Use a header that explains exactly what you're going to have in the following section, a quick little short 1-paragraph overview, and then the information that you're trying to convey. Say one header or one idea, one header, 2 to 3 paragraphs, and then move on. To that point, long, clunky paragraphs are off-putting to people's brain. I don't know about you, but when I go to a website, if the first thing that I see is 500 words of copy, before I even decide whether or not I'm going to read it, my brain just goes, that's a lot of work. I'm probably not going to make my way through all that. So another point for the headers, just keep things short, sweet, avoid the clunkiness. You don't want people's brains to deem that it's not worth reading. Next is to be concise. I love this point. I have here, human biology demands that you write concise web copy. And here's what I mean by
Taylor,
that.
Taylor, can I ask you a quick question about the point before, or do you want to save questions to the end?
No, go ahead. I'm happy to answer.
Okay, so I've just paid money for a group that's working on the SEO of our website, and they want to add more copy, which like I have whittled down a lot of what they wanted to add, but they want to add copy for the purpose of like having content that's going to make our website rank higher for SEO. So can you just, is there a short thought how to balance the two?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the time, SEO and content marketing, there's kind of like a push-pull between the two. A lot of the time, like SEO focuses on how you can rank, and then content marketing focuses on how you can create a good user experience or viewer experience. It's the same with when you're writing blog articles that are SEO driven versus user experience driven. SEO and content, they kind of battle a little bit. So yeah, it's really important to have more content like on your website, more copies, it's more keywords, but it's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. And a really good SEO agency or consultant will be able to tell you how to space things out and use headers so that it doesn't look overwhelming. I wouldn't say there's like a maximum amount of copy you can have, but there's ways that you can do it where you maybe bury some chunkier copy at the bottom. You know, you go through all the important key parts that you want people to see, and then maybe you have a longer section at the end once people have gotten the key points. So It really just depends on where they put it. There's not a maximum word count. It's just a matter of the structure and how people are going to go through it and what they're going to get out of it. So that's what I'd say. No worries, my pleasure. So the point that I was making before is that I love this. The human biology demands that you write concise web copy. So our brains are actually trained to conserve calories for survival, and the act of thinking burns calories. The more that we have to think, and this actually goes back to your point a little bit, Cam, I guess, the more we have to think, the more calories we burn. So really dense, convoluted website copy is actually making people burn extra calories to decipher it, and it goes against their survival instincts. So your goal should be maximum information, minimal words at a time, make it easy for people to get through. Also, I didn't make that up. It's from a book, and I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is, but if you're interested, I will share it with you after this. The next thing is to avoid jargon. So I find it's a common misconception that fancy words are impressive. Maybe for certain industries it is, but for co-working, where people might not know a lot about it, or you're appealing to a wider audience, I find that fancy words and jargon, they actually don't really help your cause. I always opt to assume that your reader knows absolutely nothing about the industry or about co-working whatsoever, and use clear language that's understandable by your audience. When you're writing blog articles, they say to write at a 7th grade reading level, and you can use tools like the Hemingway app to actually check that. So point being, try to keep it simple, try to keep it easy to understand, and avoid jargon because it doesn't really help your case. The next thing is to make it flow. As I was just saying to Kim, your site needs to have a flow that makes sense. If it's just a jumble of information, it's going to be confusing to navigate. It'll be a little bit frustrating for people to work their way through, and ultimately it's a bit off-putting. I always try to look at this as a journey, right? Like, what is your visitor coming there for? They're coming to find out how you're going to solve their problems, and then they're going to find out what you offer. So you need to structure this in a way that makes sense, that flows strategically, taking them from acknowledging their challenges, discussing how you would solve said challenges, explaining your value proposition and your differentiation in the competition, addressing the objections, and validate why you're the right choice. So when you're structuring your website, I recommend keeping those key points in mind to guide the way that you lay everything out. So before I get into the co-working website samples, I was curious if anybody has any additional questions that they wanted to jump into before I keep going. Cool. All right, so I'll jump into a few. As I said, I have a list of about 100 websites that I've looked through, but I picked the top ones. And bear with me, I made some notes before I got into this, so I'll be reading a little bit through these. Can everybody see this Bamboo Detroit website? Perfect. Okay, so I'll take you through a quick rundown of what I like about each of these websites and why. So Bamboo, I really like this website. It's clean looking and it's very, very minimalist. As I said, header, quick paragraph, a little bit of information. So right away, it tells me what it is. It also tells me who it's for, doers and creators. It also tells me right off the bat how much it costs. So starting at $60 a month, obviously, is a low price point, which to me tells me that they've probably figured out from their ideal members that value is important to them. So they're calling it out right off the bat. It's kind of maybe an objection that they're disarming right off the bat. So I like that. And then you get into this why Bamboo. So it ties into the experience, not just the space, right? Like it's like none of this portion here is talking about workspace, meeting rooms, or what have you. It's saying community first, diverse, entrepreneurial. So in my mind, right away when I look at this, I get a feeling of what it's going to be like to work in that space, even if I've never set foot in there before. It also has certain things here like a community built for growth, find added value to our diverse network of members and organizations, connect with local and national experts, and meet your next partner, customer, or advisor. To me, that is an absolutely brilliant part of this website. The reason being, it's told you about the workspace that it provides, the pricing options, or the membership options. It's told you about the locations. They've got a couple. That's how big it is. But then they also give you this added nugget where it's saying it's not just a workspace. You could actually find a client here. You could find a customer here, which would then return your ROI to you. So this kind of stuff is really, really smart, and I really like the way they did that. So next, getting down to the memberships. Again, tying the service to the benefit, tying what they do to the benefit. They don't just say find your workspace. They say find your preferred workflow, which it ties it to an outcome. It's subtle, but it ties it to an outcome. So when you read that, immediately you're thinking, okay, this isn't just a workspace. It's going to become part of how I work and part of how I have successful workdays. It also has who it's for: in-person, hybrid, and fully remote teams. So it doesn't just limit it to, it kind of specifies, if you're one of those people, you're going to go, okay, this is for me. This is exactly for me. They also explain the benefits for each. I really like this. If you have the opportunity to do like a ideal for in some capacity, it's another great way to just make it more specific and direct it straight to somebody. So rather than just saying, here's what it is, they say it's a great option for a work from home alternative or for workstation, more flexible and convenient than traditional office spaces, perfect for privacy or growing teams. So those kind of things, those subtle little verbiage cues really tie it all together.
Sorry, Taylor.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. I mean, I like the website, but it doesn't have many photos on the front one. So I mean, I know that makes it clean and clear, but is that still also? You know what?
I personally, and again, I'm not a web designer, so advising on this might not be the best thing for me. I appreciate minimal. Like there's the photo space here, and I think they get into a couple down here. It kind of shows me the ambiance without being over the top with photos. This could just be my personal preference of how they've done this and how it just feels when I look at it. But as far as the best practice, I would advise that that's probably a web designer would be able to give you a more solid answer on that than I would. I don't want to say something and totally lead you astray. Where was I at here? So bamboo locations. So again, small, subtle things, creativity and community. You know what it's going to feel like when you work there. It also shows that I really like this. Specifically, I like this verbiage. Plenty of room to land and expand or start and grow with us. So that tells you that you can either come in as one person and grow, or you can come in and as one person and start your business, or you can come in as an established business and they can accommodate you and your team as you grow and expand, which is important because you're showing people that they don't have to find a new place to work if they get a little bit bigger. Obviously, the goal for everybody is growth, so that's important to show. And then finally, the last point on this website that I had was I like that they show a growing network of nearly 1,000 members. To me, this is a really subtle but smart proof point, right? It's showing that, okay, there's 1,000 people who have already validated that this is a good place to work. So it really just reinforces that it's got some credibility, which is awesome. This doesn't obviously apply to every co-working space. It's not necessarily you may not have that right now, but if you do have stuff like that, it's a good thing to include. The next one I have here is geekdom, which I like for different reasons. So this, again, right off the bat, this tells you exactly who this is for. Building San Antonio one startup at a time. So immediately I know that this is for startups based in San Antonio, Texas, a collaborative startup community for people or committed to contribution. And another subtle thing they do here, as I was talking about calls to action, this is really subtle, this button, but it's not get in touch or request information. It is apply here. So this won't necessarily apply to every business model, obviously, but this button alone helps to create a sense of FOMO, a sense of exclusivity. Why am I not working here? How do I get in here? I want to apply. So I just found that to be a really, really smart thing to have on here. And this next section here, so again, talking about the outcome, not talking about what you're offering, not talking about the commodity, but talking about the product. Right away, before they even talk about what they do, you're learning how it has helped people like them. So 1,500 jobs created, plus jobs created, that's huge. 800 member companies, again, that's like, it's a huge proof point to show how many people work there. So right off the bat, before they even tell you anything about what they do, they're telling you how this helps people like them. It also even has, and this is great content marketing, it has a guidebook resource that you can download, presumably in exchange for your email address, that will tell you, give you a compilation of resources and tools and specific and founder-friendly programs that they offer. So before they've even sold you on anything, they're offering you some value, something that you can use, has nothing to do with co-working, but it's directly geared to help them. So again, I like this as a collaborative community filled with resources and opportunities to help you grow. So a network of entrepreneurs, open workspace, and private offices. Now it's kind of getting into what it is. They're obviously the things that they have identified as their key selling points are here, and they have an option to drive to all of their benefits. So I won't go down the rabbit hole of getting into this website, but I like that now they've gotten to it, but they're tying it to the benefits. And this is really smart as well. Talk about specificity. They have broken out their membership options based on where you're at, what kind of business you are. So, okay, I have an idea. You're at the beginning of your journey, startup weekend, here's something that you might like. I have an MVP, cultivate, recommends an incubator. I have a business, it's got an accelerator program, I want to scale. So they're showing you all these extra benefits that they have in the space itself, but they're tying it directly to who you are and where you are in your business journey. So this shows me that they've done some serious listening to who they want in their space and who's in their space and how they can benefit them. So you get into the pricing plans, which is cool. I like that they base it with startup, co-working, and private space. I also like that they have the events on here. And somewhere on here, I had a note about this. They have something about being part of the downtown action. I'm trying to remember where I saw this, but somewhere on here they say be part of the downtown action, which kind of also gives you a vibe of what it's going to be like. This is a hustle and bustle environment in downtown San Antonio, and you're going to have that fast-paced, action-oriented environment. It's going to keep you motivated. So yeah, with this website, I really like that they start off with educating, giving resources, showing benefits, and then talking about what they do. Next, I had Work Bar, and if this is taking too long, guys, feel free to let me know that I'm going through too many, but I'll just run through these quickly while we're here. So I'll talk about the thing that I don't love first on this, that I think they could probably do maybe just a little bit better on. This slider here, it has a lot of information on some of these slides that are really good, but the first time I got to this website, I landed on safety matters, which is important, but I don't know if it's like the selling point necessarily. Maybe it is, but it doesn't tell me who it's for or what it's offering right off the bat. So when I came back up to this, I saw the easiest way to go hybrid. So work from home doesn't work for everyone. Neither do frustrating commutes to headquarters. Give employees options to do their best place workplace mobility. So right off the bat, this tells you this probably isn't geared towards solopreneurs or freelancers or whatever. This is very much the wording they're using here is very much geared to satellite teams or companies who have employees who are trying to find a place for those people to go. So it's also addressing some of the objections that their employees might have, right? Like commuting to work. So later on, it gets to, I think they talk about how you're never further than 20 minutes from a space. So they're looking at all these, working from home is killing people's motivation, long commutes are not popular. So they're addressing that right off the bat. Next, they tell you, again, as I said, I like this best for format. So they're giving you their solution, their services, but they're giving it to you in a best for. So obviously they do include individual sole proprietors here, but as you can see from the rest of the website, probably not their bread and butter. I think what you're going to see as their bread and butter here is startup, small teams, distributed teams, remote work and hybrid workforce. And then it tells you which one they think would be the best option for you. And then they get into the why Work Bar, which I think probably addresses some common objections that they got. Credibility being one. We've been here for a long time. We're flexible. We're local. So this is what I was saying before. Our network of 18 key locations across Greater Boston means you're never more than 20 minutes from a Work Bar, which is great. well certified. We're about wellness. So this tells you that they are not just a space, they're offering you additional value. They're offering you programs that are going to support a healthy lifestyle, work-life balance, that kind of stuff. And then, so I like the way they've done this. They've got some in the press here, so obviously they're well known. And this is something that I really like. This is really sophisticated, and it would take probably a web developer to do this for you. But if you have the capabilities, it's just an idea of thinking outside the box for how to get people with that specificity. They have a workspace calculator. So I think it's like a 4-step thing. I assume you type in how many employees you have, what you're looking for, and it crunches the numbers and gives you a quote for the right option for you. So as I said before, one thing that I think they could do to just supercharge this a little bit is maybe just less slides, or stop with the slider and put these important points further down in here somewhere. I just find that if you land on the wrong thing, maybe it doesn't grab you the right way. But that's just me. And then the last one that I had to look at here was 25 and, oops, sorry about that. There it goes. This is not working for me. Let's do it this way. Okay, so 25N, this is the last one. I'm just doing this again because it's another example of how it's specific. Right off the bat, plays well with suburbs. Work, meet, and collaborate with a co-working community that thrives in the suburbs. So we've seen some downtown offices, but this is also talking to people who are in the suburbs, right? This is letting you know that if you live out in the suburbs, they are in Illinois. So if you live in the suburbs of Illinois, this is probably a great option for you because you don't have to commute down into the city. I also like that they get into this thing of we're more than just desks and coffee, more than just desks and bottomless coffee. I find that a lot of the time, again, like co-working spaces will talk about the what, the things, the services, the perks, but not necessarily the benefits. So I like that they've addressed this right off the bat. We're more than just desks and bottomless coffee. So we have that, but we're more. We're a community built on people. We connect with the opportunities we create. So I like that they've done that. We also get down here, they've got their spaces, and I like that they have, so they got their amenities listed in point form, which is great, it's concise, it's easy to digest. But there's another important point that I saw in here as well, where they talk about their community managers. They actually say intuitive hospitality professionals who help our members sail through the work week. So this hospitality verbiage that they use here, it ties that experience in, right? It's not just a space, it's hospitality. You think hotels, full service, people there to support you with whatever you need, which I really like. I think that's a really smart way to do it. Another thing that doesn't necessarily work for every co-working space, but it ties back to the experiences where they say pretty, remarkably productive. So what this tells me, along with this image here, and the fact that they say our design-forward workspaces empower you to get stuff done. Our workspace has been thoughtfully designed and furnished by our in-house interior design team. So right off the bat, if the part of the experience that you want from the space that you're working in is to be able to bring in employees and have a professional environment, or to bring in clients and impress them and wow them, you're going to get that here, and they spell that out for you in no uncertain terms. And they talk about how everything is centered on the human experience. So I really like that they've taken the opportunity to kind of address that need that their members obviously have. And last but not least here, they wrap up really specifically by saying, we believe the greatest desire for suburbanites is to be as productive as possible at the office before returning home to their family. They're ambitious, but choose to live in the suburbs so that they can create a comfortable life for their families. It's all about security, freedom, and happiness, and that's where 25N hospitality comes in. So if this doesn't tell you exactly who it's for, exactly what it is, exactly what the values are that they believe in, and exactly what their members' values are, nothing will. If that is you, if you are that member and you read that, right away you're going to know this is the one for me. So those are the 4 that I picked. There were a couple others. If you want more examples, you can look through for yourself. I can send you some others that were my favorites. But those were the ones that I chose to put in for now. Where am I at here? Oh, okay. So a couple that were submitted Christy at WorkSmart Glen Falls, I appreciate you sending this in. Don't know why my link's not working, but I have it on here. So I have some notes for this, and Kim, I'll wing it for you, just off the cuff. And if you want more in-depth insights once I've given it a deeper look, just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to look it over for you. So looking at WorkSmart Glens Falls, a few things pop to mind here. So right away, you've got a challenge and a solution, right? Tired of working from home, alone, join a supportive community and a professional environment so you can focus on what you're meant to do. Then you go a little bit down, you've got outcomes here. Christy's productivity, work-life balance, reaching our goals. And then you spell out some of the things that often get in the way of that for people. So you've got a bunch of really, really good nuggets here. You've got a lot of really good ingredients for the website. And I think if you wanted to take this to the next level, a few things that you could kind of work to expand on are looking at the how behind the outcomes. How does WorkSmart help people be more productive? How does it help them have better work-life balance? How does it help them reach their goals? And I think a lot of that probably ties into these points that you have here. But I would probably look at maybe expanding this into paragraph form so that you can really kind of give people that full picture, address the challenges they're facing, talk about how you present a solution. I'd love to see a bit more of your personality come through. So obviously I follow you on LinkedIn and you have the podcast and you're creating all kinds of awesome content. So I think that you have the defined voice and the defined, you know exactly what WorkSmart is all about. If you were going to go back and take a look at the website, I would find a way to make sure that really shines through for people, because I think it's important. I think you already have it balanced out. And also I know that you focus a lot on the Glen Falls community. So I don't know if there's a way to tie in like a hyper local angle here. I don't know how many spaces are in your community, but I feel like you have an opportunity here, just looking at your content, what you create and put on LinkedIn, that you have an opportunity to kind of tie that hyper local, like be that space in Glen Falls. So I like this. I like the header. I like the subhead. I would probably maybe go into a paragraph that explains a little bit of why us, maybe a few subheads or a few headers and a few paragraphs that talk about the challenges, then explains the why us, and then get into a little bit of an overview of the services and amenities. So long story short, I think you have all the components here. I would really just try to like build that out and show everybody what your space is all about, and what they're going to get when they work there and what the environment is. So hopefully that was helpful. I think I have a question up here. Cool. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple of these at a time. So I'll go through Kim's right now. And Christy, again, if you want any more insights, feel free to shoot me an email or send me a LinkedIn message. I'd be happy to chat even more and give you some specific insights if you want. I'm happy to help. So just let me know. Generally, I'm always weird to do these off the cuff, but I will give you the shot as we go here. So,
okay, I don't get my feelings hurt.
Okay, give me 2 seconds here to just read through. Is your office closed? Are you tired of working from home? Porch residence, stay sanitized. Place to work that is not your home. So it seems to me that, are you located in the downtown core, or are you in the suburbs?
Yeah, we're downtown. And
okay.
This was just a bar that we've added that I actually have just forgotten to take off.
Okay, cool. Okay, Birmingham's favorite co-working space. So right off the bat, like I think that you have an opportunity to take this headline and explain why are you Birmingham's favorite co-working space? Like, what is it that makes you the best? Without having done a background, you could say like how long you've been around, how many members you have, the experience that's unique, your location, whatever it might be. So it's a good opportunity to dial right in on that. You might even want to consider doing like a headline and then kind of like a follow-up paragraph. So like you see how these guys have they've got their header and then they've got like a descriptive paragraph. This is really short. I think you can do more. A couple sentences is great. Like even this is short. You can do a couple paragraphs. I mean, a couple sentences in your paragraph. So I would do like your header and then a descriptive paragraph that backs it up, and then get into it. I like that you have a call to action right away. I do that on my website. Not everybody does. Okay, so I remember starting forward because of the thoughtfully designed space and their staff's ability to anticipate needs. So this is good. I like this. I like that you talked first about the space and about the staff. It really reinforces that experience. And obviously, it seems like that's something that is valuable to members. And then why they stay at Forge because they find something greater community. So that's awesome. I like the way that you've done this. I like that it ties into the needs and to what you're going to give them. I also like what our members experience. This is really powerful. New relationships, increased productivity, and have grown their business. Yeah, so I like this. And then you get into your membership. Yeah, so like just from like a homepage perspective, I think that you're covering a lot of good stuff. My overarching feedback here would be refine this to be more specific to you. Add a descriptive paragraph. I might even include like if you can expand on this, the more specific you can get, the better. Like if you can say, explain why, like tap into why the thoughtfully designed space is important to people. Like if it's to, it'll impress your members or your clients, it'll make your team feel like they're in a real workspace, whatever it might be. The more detail you can extract from every statement that you make, the better. It just gives you more opportunities to be specific and tap into what people are looking for. And then I might include, like, I always like to put like a little bit of an about thing. So you could have like maybe like a little bit of your story here, like a new header or something that talks about your story, what your co-working space is all about, why you're open, that kind of thing. And then tied to the, I don't know if you have like an our story page, but if you don't have an our story page.
I think we do under community, maybe. I don't know. The about page is my least favorite.
The about, it's a good one to have. So if you don't have it, you might want to consider doing like a quick about.
No, ours was. So I don't know if it's gone. We used to have an about us page. Is it at the bottom maybe? I don't know. Oh, there we go. The Forge team.
Yeah. So I think like your story, like I just think the story, like especially as like an owner and a community manager, like you guys are the team, you guys are the experience. So I think that that's something that's important too for people, right? Is like, think about if you're going to WeWork or something like that, it's going to feel less personal. And so one of your selling points here could be like that it's a really like personal experience. You're going to have the owner there, you're going to have the community manager there, and here's a little bit about the team to help build that personal connection. Especially with like individual spaces or like a few locations. I just feel like the more you can tie people into yourself personally is a great way to do that. And actually, Christy, same thing here. I would include some of your story as well. I think it's just a great way to connect people with you. Like all the stuff that you're putting on LinkedIn is a great way to do that, and just try to expand that to the website and make that connection with you as well as the space. So
we actually have an in the news tab on our website.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information. There's a number of articles there. So it really takes people kind of through our journey, even from where we started to the build out in the new space. And
oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah, I had only looked at the homepage. So another thing you can do, like sometimes people get lost on the menus. Like sometimes if they don't necessarily click through, they might miss some of that important information. So even if you had like a subheader that was a little bit about that and then have a button that drives to that page for people to learn more, it's almost like create a teaser, like a little teaser paragraph, and then drive to that page. Just in case people happen to not skim through the menu or whatever, you're kind of like giving them a nugget and then driving them to that page, if that makes sense.
that makes sense. I'm curious if you're familiar with story branded websites.
I actually read that book. It's a great book, Donald Miller book.
Yeah, because ours is pretty heavily story branded.
Yeah. Again, this is my method. I know there's a lot of ways to do it. This is just kind of how I approach things with the clients that I work with.
Sure, of course.
So yeah, no, I am very familiar with that, and I really actually like the framework of the story brand.
Yeah.
I have another client. Actually, I have a few clients outside of the co-working industry, and one of my clients in the design space works very heavily with the story brand framework as well, and it works great for them. So yeah, like this is just my approach to it. I don't know if
Sure.
there's necessarily a right and wrong. This is just what I would offer as a way to kind of like engage people and then get people to different parts of your website by giving them those little nuggets that will drive them elsewhere to learn more. But yeah, no, the story brand is awesome. It's a great book, and if anybody hasn't read that, I would strongly recommend it.
I think one of the biggest things that I've come to grips with lately, and it was mentioned in the co-working convos last week, is that it's just always a work in progress, our websites, and
always and forever. I can't even tell you my website. I have probably redone it like 30 times. I probably redo my website once a month, because as soon as I feel like I've gotten it right, I'm like, wait, I need to change this, or I need to change that. So yeah, like as I said, it's always iterations. Everything is always iterations. I think like getting the framework that works is like the key, and then you can tweak details. So the stuff that I'm suggesting for you is more just like a framework thing, and like ways to drive people off to the other parts of your website, like how they can find your story if they missed it on the menu and stuff like that. But again, like the story brand thing is awesome. This is just my method for doing it. And
yeah, no, that's good stuff. I was just curious if you'd heard of it, and what your take is on that.
Yeah, I think the thing about our brains using more calories to consume more content is actually part of the Donald Miller story brand thing. And I think that's the book I think that's the book that it came from. So I feel like, I appreciate a balance. I don't like too much, but I also don't like too little. I'm a storyteller, so I love a little bit of I love a little bit more copy that takes people through the emotional side of it. So it's all a balance. It's all iterations. And it just might not be my framework here. So, but yeah, overall, as I said, I think you have a ton of great points on here. I would just maybe add things to get people to other areas. And also I'd maybe if you could find a way to call out your podcast somewhere clearly, like in a menu up here. I know it's here. It's just a cool thing that you do. So if you can highlight that elsewhere, it might be worth doing as a resource.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I hadn't really even, it just didn't occur to me, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, so because it's an ad value
all this
thing.
time and energy doing it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Totally. Your blog, your newsletter, your ad value, those things are all ad values. So if you have like a resources tab or somewhere on there that you can drive people to those, it's just an extra thing that's an ad value for people. So I would definitely put that on there as well, because you put so much work into it, and it's all about disseminating that content elsewhere, right? So cool, Ruben, Venture X. So I'm actually really interested in this. I've been wondering about this. When it comes to Venture X, how much autonomy do you guys have when it comes to your website and your marketing? Like, is a lot of it provided by Venture X, or is it kind of up to you guys to decide how to write it and how to market yourselves?
So I manage the marketing for the entire brand. So
okay,
I recently have been working on developing the whole website, but we link our website to HubSpot. So we allow locations to create custom landing pages based off of buyer personas or different content that they have. And so they can control their own kind of location-based page. And we have like the short form vanity URLs for them, link to that. But then they also can create their own landing pages for specific campaigns.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, because I follow a lot of Venture X franchisees on Instagram and stuff like that, and obviously I've done a lot of looking around. So I was just talking about this with somebody yesterday about how much autonomy franchisees have. So that's interesting to know. Okay. So at a glance here, and again, I usually would love to take this for a few minutes and look at it, but just off the cuff here. I like Venture Out, Venture in, Venture X, just as it's catchy. But the first thing that stands out to me here is that obviously the video is there, but I don't know if it tells me exactly what it is in that tagline. So that might be something worth considering is if you can find a way to just kind of like spell out in more detail what the offering is. But then again, maybe the video does that on its own. Get to know. So again, I like that we're more than just office space. Not all shared office spaces are created equally, and venture X companies. Yeah, this is good. I would even almost maybe take these and make them their own like subheaders. All of our locations are independently owned and operated. The choose each market they invest in. I like that. Venture X member, you have access to your entire global portfolio. Consider our amazing Venture X staff an extension of your own, whether it be one of those class. Yeah, so I like this. I almost would probably even, and this is really granular, but I might even like put the member focused stuff, because it's pretty much just telling me what I'm deducting from this is hospitality, perfect. That's great for the members right off the bat. Globally connected. So like if you're on the road somewhere, you can come in, and then locally owned. I would almost flip those and put hospitality infused workspace at the top, because you want the first thing that your member reads to be like, this is how this is going to benefit me. And then the globally connected also benefits. And then the locally owned is like a cool brand thing where it's like global but hyper local at the same time. So I like that. I might just flip it over. Award winning, we're in good company. I like that as well. Future of business memberships for every team. Turnkey office space solutions for any size business. Yeah, I like this. And one thing to note here too is like it's the way that you would write different websites. So Venture X being a very multi-location space, you would write this. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm just seeing Christy's note. I'll come back to that. Okay, Kim, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Again, feel free to email me if you want any more insights or advice, or you want to chat about your website. I know you said you had SEO concerns, so feel free to send me an email or a LinkedIn message. I'm happy to talk to you. So what I was saying is, yeah, the way that you would write a large scale coworking or multi-location website is very different than a single location or 2 or 3 locations. So I like this. It gives the feeling that it's a large scale professional office. Yeah, generally I think this is pretty good. I think that you structured it well. I like that you have the testimonials here. I like the way that you've structured these as well. Looks good. Yeah, so like really the only thing that I would say is maybe just flip these around so that it starts with the member focus first, and then talks about the locally owned. Because I think that
that's great feedback. That was a good catch there. You're right.
Totally. And then yeah, I don't have the solution for the answer for what this might be for Venture Out, Venture in, Venture X. I like it because it's catchy. I like the alliteration.
Yeah, it's a new taglines that I'm testing out to see the feedback we get from them.
Cool. Well, yeah, and like keep me posted just out of my own curiosity. I'd love to hear how it goes over. But yeah, that would be my thoughts on that. And unless anybody else, oh yeah, Christy mentioned full confession. Their stock photos on the homepage. That's a great call to work with a photographer to get new photos. It definitely just makes that connection, makes it feel like home for people. So I think that's a great call. So beyond that, I think that is pretty much all that I had for you guys. I know this was a long one and I usually don't make them this long. But before everybody goes, does anybody else have any more questions that you want to ask before we jump off? Cool. Okay. Well, if you do, again, feel free to email me anytime you want, taylor@tailmaker.ca. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If you just want to chat through logistics, I'm happy to give you advice or whatever. If you like this kind of content and you don't already subscribe, feel free to head to my website, tailmaker.ca/subscribe. 3 times a week, I send out content, marketing, insights and tips and thoughts that you can use for your space. And if you want to get into doing some blog writing, I also have a free course, email course on there, tailmaker.ca/basics. But again, thank you everybody for coming on. If you have questions, feel free to give me a shout, send me an email. I'm always here to help out. And I appreciate everybody's time today.
Thanks, Tyler. We appreciate your time also.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks.
Tom.
Bye.
Oh, also, I will have a recording and an expanded version of this deck if anybody wants it. The expanded version will have all the extra stuff that I talked about, and I can send you the recording for reference. So again, if you want that, let me know. That's the last thing. I always forget something, and that was it. Okay, guys. Thanks. Thanks for submitting that, by the way, Christy. I appreciate that. You were the first one, and it was it's always like it's always a brave move to put yourself out there for feedback. So
Yeah, it was a little scary, but thank you for going easy on me.
I hope it was helpful. And seriously, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to just give me a shout, and I'd be happy to chat with you more about it offline. So let me know.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks for coming. See ya.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Amber. See ya.